Good afternoon, all. CamelbackTrading.org coming to you this Friday afternoon, March 4th. We're looking at Window Trader's market profile of SPY IWM and Triple Qs. Pretty wacky day. Tough to get a grip on as we had MGI kind of all over the place. Russell and Qs gap lower only to fill them right away. SPY had a decent gap that it couldn't fill early, only to absolutely rip early afternoon and then missed filling the gap by 43 cents. Never got it. There was no taper at the day's high. We raised POC by over $1, even though value was lower all day and the indice was down between 1.25% and 2% throughout the day. It was certainly a case of the market getting too short. They take them out, then the market got too long, then it gets too short, but the price action was pretty erratic, and that's been the theme for our daily, right? We were in a 6-day balance. We were talking about balance rules this morning in the trading room when we got to the low in D. I said, look, our low today, that was the low at 427.88. I said, we're 77 cents from a daily balance. Doesn't mean we have to get there. Now, if it was only a $4 balance, I'd say, okay, that's pretty far away. But the high of the balance was yesterday's high, 441. So it's a $14 balance. So getting within 77 cents, that might be all they wanted to do. We'll see. That remains to be seen. It was a good day. I had one really large trade I took early, which turned out very nice. Other than that, most of them were small. And the large trade came because I was shocked at what the market did, and that came in B period. So in A period, I took a long against the overnight low the first time, 429s, that popped initially the first time. It was only a small lot, but it worked out. Then when A rallied a bit, I took a short with the gap still there and value being lower. Those were 432s. Then when A period started coming towards its close, it started running up. I'm like, okay. I don't expect to take out A's high. I started a 10 lot, and again, it wasn't at the lows. I don't know exactly where I started. I mean, this isn't where half back was, but we'll use half back as an example. So when A started rallying, I took a 10 lot here. I took another 10 lot around here, and I'm like, okay, maybe we don't get the opening. I took a 50 lot. So I was short. I was long 70 of the 432 puts. Well, it got above the opening. And now I'm like, wow, if we take out A's high, they really going to go and fill the gap? It stayed there for a minute or so. I put on another 100, so I had 170 of the 432 puts. Now it came in. I was in the money on the 100 right away. So I took a lot of those off because I'm like, well, I don't want to see it back off to the opening, back test it. I don't take anything off. I'm long 170 puts, and then go and take the A's high and get the gap. Then I'm really, really screwed. So I took a lot of those off because they're in the money. And then obviously we started coming in. And I made money on the trade. It was a nice trade, but certainly the way B ended up coming in, I didn't maximize it. But again, that's the reason I took off as many as I did from basically B's high to the opening. Because again, that was like a 60, 70 cent move right there. That would be horrible on my part to not take off a bunch of those, get back in the money, and then watch it go up in my face. So that's why I did that. So that was my best trade of the day, P&L wise. Then in C period, I took a short as we were getting to half back at the time. That worked out, 432s. D period, I took a short versus... I didn't think we would get to A's low, so to get 4 for 4 wides. The first time we got up there, it didn't. I missed it the first time. It got up there the second time. I took it, small one went down, took it off. We did finally get it, but that worked out. That was a 431. Now F period. Now I'm like, okay, the one-time framing stops. We're going to get some of the shorts and take some of the air out of the balloon, right? Release the pressure valve. I didn't expect F to rip as hard as it did. Took a short, not a big one. In fact, in the past, I could have really gotten hurt saying there's no way we're going to go back up with lower value. We never got the gap. Look for the afternoon rally high. Didn't do that. And actually took a small short in F and actually went above the opening, and I took it off for a loss. Not a big one. And then actually F came back in, but I was fine with that. In H, believe it or not, when they started getting tempo, I actually took a long in H, 432 calls to pop the top, which they did, and I did well on that. I period. Took a short against A's high. Came in. Made money, then it went back up. I did miss a much bigger short. I actually had a small long after that short. Very small. 2 lot. That didn't keep me out of the trade. It looked like it was going to want to stop one-time framing. My fingers kind of fat-fingered on the keyboard trying to set up the put play, and then it took out H's low. Now, I missed where I wanted to take it. I certainly still could have jumped in. I hate chasing, but I certainly could have jumped in and obviously capitalized on that. But I didn't once I missed it. And then the only other trade I took, I thought we were going to get to value low. I was hoping it was going to be in J period. I would have taken a much bigger call play because we had raised POC. When it happened in K, I only took a small one. I got paid on it, but it was only a small one. And I was waiting to see if L took out K's low to see if I wanted to do it again. Never did, and that's all I did. So most of those trades were rather small, except for obviously the short in B where I was long 170 puts. But it turned out to be a good day overall and a good week for the most part. Okay, so upside destinations. Again, we're pretty far and wide apart. We have today's high at 433.37 and then filling the gap at 433.80, 43-point gap from today. Then there's nothing to the afternoon rally high from yesterday, which is all the way up at 439.27. Now I told you I don't ignore 7 wide or whatever, but I don't carry it forward. So to me, J's high is the big reference point. And then above that we have yesterday's high, which is the weekly high of 441.11. For the downside, 10 wide at C's high, 430.53. Then nothing to today's low of 427.88. And then March 1st low of 427.11, which is the bottom of our balance and a weekly balance. Now, let's get to the charts. We'll start with Russell, top down. So Russell, remember last month, Russell barely took out, now the Russell monthly is down, but it barely took out last month's low. We barely took out January's low in February. I'm like, is that a look below and fail? I mean, we literally took it out, my friends, by 17 cents. I don't know yet. Why don't we know? Because it was at the end of February for the most part, right? And now March. To me, if we take out February's high, well, then we'll see if we get that grind all the way back up and see if we get the other end of January's high. That would be your destination. But for now, again, you can call it down. You could call it down to balance since it's basically an inside month. In fact, I would treat February as an inside month. What does that mean? That means if we come down and take out January and February's lows, I'm looking for a short because we're going to go down to that 173 level, I think. On the flip side, if we take out February's high, well, again, it's a monthly. It might not happen right away, but you might start grinding back towards January's high, and then you could look for a swing trade on a long and use February's high as your out if you got back into it. So again, it's subjective. You want to call the monthly down or down to balance is up to you. I'd probably call it, since February did take out January's low a little bit, I'd probably call it down for now or down to balance. Weekly, pure balance. This is a mess of a balance here, right? 6-week balance they're in. So you can use February 7th high as the top of it, which is February's high, and obviously last week's low. So balance on the weekly and daily is also balance, right? Markets don't go bull bear. Even though, we weren't bull yesterday, it was still balanced. What did we do today? We took out yesterday's low And did they get that other low, 197? They did. Look at that. They took out February 25th's low by 2 cents. 2 cents. That's it. So we talk about balance rules, right? We literally stretched the balance low by 2 cents and then rallied, what, $2? $2.50. So, or $2, I'm sorry. So it remains to be seen now, but it's purely balance. So monthly is, say, down to balance, weekly balance, daily balance. We're looking for more MGI, aren't we? Here is the cues. Monthly. To me, the monthly is firmly down. Okay? March just started. Monthly is firmly down. Weekly, balance. I would use a 2-week balance. Last week's low, this week's high. Daily. Now, daily's different than the rest of us. To me, I'd call the daily down because it was a 5-day balance in triple Qs, but we did take out the 25th low. Oh, that's interesting. The 25th low is 337.39. We got down to 334.92 and rallied, but look where we closed, 337.30. So they tried to close back into the previous 5-day balance range and failed. Just failed. So for now, I'm calling the daily down. So the monthly down, weekly balance, daily down in the triple Qs. SPY, monthly to me, firmly down. Right? After an outside month down 2 months ago. Weekly, balance, just like Qs. 2-week balance, I'll call it. This week's high, last week's low. So it's a $14 balance, 441 to 427. And the daily is still in balance. You see the difference between triple Qs and us? Triple Qs took out their balance low and closed below it. We did not. So we are now in, firmly, a 6-day balance. Waiting for more MGI. 20-day moving average is now down to 439.36. Once again, kept a lot of people out of trouble this week in the room with this erratic action on the daily. And it was erratic. We had a lot of new people sign up. Come check us out at camelbacktrading.org. Really appreciate the likes and subscribing to the YouTube channel. Please tell your family and friends to follow me on YouTube. Rest up, enjoy your weekend, and we'll speak prior to the opening on Monday.